7 sinister discoveries hidden in haunted woods that reveal terrifying secrets of the unexplained. Lisa's heart raced as she parked the car, the overgrown entrance to Whispering Woods looming before her like an open maw. The stories had spread through Maple Grove like wildfires, a place where the trees bore witness to the unexplainable, where shadows danced with secrets too dark to disclose. Perfect for us, she muttered, trying to shake off the unease gripping her chest as she turned to her teenage son, Danny. He seemed eager enough, a flicker of excitement in his eyes. They were due for an escape, something to take their minds off bills and lonely nights. But a voice inside her, a whisper much like the woods, suggested it might not be what it seemed. As they stepped onto the forgotten path, the forest swallowed them whole. The silence was maddening. No chirping birds, no rustling leaves, just a dense heaviness that pressed against them like cold, clammy hands. "Mom, this place is kinda creepy," Danny joked, trying to lighten the mood, but Lisa hardly heard him. Her pulse thrummed in her ears, drowning out all external sounds. Then they stumbled upon a dilapidated cabin, crouching between the trees like a beast ready to pounce. Its peeling paint and rotting wood whispered tales of abandonment. "Let us check it out," Danny proposed, intrigued. Lisa hesitated, the dread welling inside her, but a sense of adventure tugged at her heart. So, they pushed the door open, which screamed in protest. Inside, strange symbols marred the walls, remnants of twisted rituals long past, and melted candles littered the floor. A shiver crawled over Lisa's skin. "I don't like this, Danny," she whispered, their breath mingling in the suffocating stillness. "Let us move on." As they ventured deeper, the atmosphere grew sinister. They discovered a derelict playground, swings swaying in the absence of wind. Lisa's stomach twisted, a deep-rooted terror creeping in. Shadows seemed to dance around them, whispering her name. She clutched Danny's arm, seeking solace in his presence. The rustle of leaves became a cacophony of murmurs, as if the woods were alive, breathing, watching. "Are you okay?" Danny asked, his youthful bravado faltering. "Yeah, just let us keep going." She pressed through gritted teeth, but dread settled in her bones like ice. Then came the totems, wooden carvings resembling missing neighbors, their vacant eyes seeming to track her every movement. A cold sweat dripped down her back. "This is too strange," she said, attempting to keep her voice steady. "Let us go back." As twilight draped its shroud over the woods, Lisa felt it, something lurking, shadowy and primal. Suddenly, Danny disappeared. 1 minute he was there, the next, swallowed by the whispers. Panic clutched at her throat. "Danny," she called, her voice breaking. She stumbled forward, heart racing. "Danny." The whispers morphed into a scream, echoing off the trees. "Mom, before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Every instinct screamed at her to flee, yet she pressed on, tracing the echoes of Danny's voice that seemed to morph into something darker, something sinister. The shadows around her pulsed with an ancient energy, twisting reality as she navigated the treacherous underbrush. The realization hit her hard. Who could she trust in Maple Grove? Someone had warned her about the woods, urged her to turn back. Betrayal seeped into her thoughts like venom. The very fabric of safety she'd sewn around Danny felt like loose threads ready to unravel. In the depths of the Whispering Woods, trapped between her fears and the desperate need to find her son, she felt the ground shift beneath her. What dark truth awaited them as the trees closed in, and would she find the way back before it was too late? "Danny." Lisa's voice echoed through the suffocating woods, swallowed by darkness. She stumbled deeper into the trees, the twisted branches clawing at her skin like grasping fingers. Her heart pounded in her chest, a frantic tempo that matched the rhythm of her fear. The whispers grew sharper, coming from everywhere and nowhere all at once. They wrapped around her, luring her further into the abyss. Every step felt wrong. The ground was soft, almost pulsing, like it was alive. Sweat dripped down her back and pooled in her palms. She wiped them on her jeans, trying to keep calm, but with every passing second, the grip of panic tightened. Danny! She choked out again, her throat raw. The forest held its breath, and for a moment, the chilling sounds faded into silence. Then, a faint rustle broke through a sign of movement. Lisa's pulse quickened. She turned toward the sound, her body tense, ready to bolt if need be. A figure emerged from behind a tree. Mom! A wave of relief washed over her. Danny! She rushed toward him, and as she reached out, he stepped back, the shadows shielding him. His eyes were wide, but not in fear. They gleamed with a strange light, a mix of awe and something else she couldn't place. Danny, what's wrong? Are you okay? He nodded slowly. I saw something. What? She demanded, desperation leaking into her voice. It was in the clearing. His breath came fast, matching her mounting anxiety. It showed me things. His gaze drifted into the dark. Mom, we need to go. The tremor in his voice sent fresh chills through her. What did you see? People. From the town. They were trapped. His words tumbled out, each one a weight. Just like us. Lisa's heart dropped. Trapped? Danny, what do you mean? The trees they took them, he whispered, voice trembling. They're still here, Mom. I swear. What? This can't be. Before she could finish, wind howled through the trees, a frigid exhalation that rattled her bones. Shadows thickened around them, pulsating like a heartbeat, sounds swelling into a deafening roar. Run! She screamed, grabbing Danny's wrist. They dashed forward, branches snapping at their heels, as if the forest itself were trying to pull them back. The whispers morphed into laughter, mocking their flight, twisting their names into a bitter chant that echoed in the depths of her mind. Just as they reached a clearing, the ground quaked beneath them, and the shadows expanded, revealing the shapes that Danny had seen. Figures hunched and swayed, faces twisted in confusion and fear, eyes hollowed by despair. Friends, neighbors, people she had known all her life now trapped in a nightmarish limbo. Why are they here? She shouted, desperate for answers. But the figures only murmured, their voices blending with the wind, becoming an agonizing haze. Mom, we can't stay, Danny yelled, fear cracking through his calm facade. She turned back to him, fear consuming her. Then we keep running. They charged through the clearing, sprinting as the dread of what was behind them surged onward. But just beyond the trees, a shimmering figure materialized, a woman with deep-set eyes, wearing a tattered dress. You cannot leave, she intoned, voice low and laced with an otherworldly echo. Lisa skidded to a halt, the reality of their plight crashing down like icy water. Danny, But before she could finish, the ground beneath them pulsated violently, sending them both tumbling. They landed hard, the breath knocked from their lungs. As they scrambled to their feet, the woman's face twisted into a malevolent grin, her eyes brimming with an unholy light. Welcome to the Whispering Woods, she hissed, the laughter of the trapped souls rising to a crescendo behind her. Lisa's scream mixed with the chorus of despair as she grasped Danny's hand, feeling the cold slip of shadow close in. In the chaos, she spotted something glinting on the forest floor, a pendant. One she recognized, one that belonged to her neighbor. But what was it doing here? Danny, if we can find the origin of their pain, maybe we can. Before she could finish, the woman lunged. Darkness enveloped them, and just like that they vanished. What would they discover next? Would they become part of the whispers, or find a way to break free? The darkness was thick, wrapping around Lisa and Danny like a suffocating blanket. They tumbled through a void, gasping for breath that wouldn't come. Time lost meaning as they spiraled into uncharted depths, the forest noise fading to a sinister hum that teased the edges of her sanity. With a sudden jolt, they landed hard on the damp earth, gasping as the world around them snapped back into focus. They lay in a different part of the woods, the trees looming like ancient sentinels overhead, their branches twisted and gnarled. The air was heavy with the scent of decay, and the ground pulsed beneath them, as if the forest were breathing. Mom. Danny's voice was barely a whisper, tinged with fright. I'm here, she replied, shaking off the disorientation. They pushed themselves to their feet, shaking off the remnants of fear. What is this place? He shivered, the chill deeper than before. Struggling to catch her breath, Lisa scanned their surroundings. It was eerily quiet, the laughter and whispers silenced for the moment. Something felt off, and her instincts screamed for her to move. We need to find a way out. Keep close to me. They stepped cautiously, the ground squelching underfoot, the darkness casting treacherous shapes. As they moved forward, the air shifted. A low moan echoed in the distance, a sound so full of anguish that it twisted Lisa's stomach. She froze, eyes wide, the weight of the sorrow almost tangible. Did you hear that? Danny nodded, fear etched into his features. What was it? It must be them, she answered, her voice trembling. They're expressing their pain. The moaning rose and fell like the tide, and they followed the sound, drawn into a thick mist that rolled between the trees. Shapes began to emerge ahead, shadowy figures drifting through the gloom, their faces obscured, but their expressions unmistakably pained. Mom, what if Danny started? But Lisa silenced him with a glance. In the midst of the fog stood a woman, her back turned, long dark hair cascading down her shoulders. She wore a white dress that fluttered, though there was no wind. Help me, the woman choked out, her voice a haunting melody of despair. Please, is she one of them? Danny whispered, gripping his mother's hand tightly. Before Lisa could respond, the woman spun around, revealing a face twisted in an expression of torment. But in her eyes, there was a spark of clarity, a moment of lucidity where fear flickered into recognition. Lisa? She breathed out, the name slipping through clenched teeth, laced with anguish. Lisa staggered back, the realization hitting her like a punch. Margaret? What happened to you? Mom, Danny gasped, tugging at her arm. We have to go? She is not okay. No, Lisa said firmly, her heart racing. If there's a chance we can help her. Margaret's gaze sharpened momentarily, and she leaned in closer, her voice barely above a whisper. You don't understand, Lisa. They'll take you too. You need to run. The trees, they're alive. They craved souls. Unease clawed at Lisa's insides. We want to abandon you. Your son, no. Margaret cried out, reaching for Danny, but before she could grasp his hand, shadows erupted from the trees, dark tendrils snaking toward them. Lisa yanked Danny back, heart racing as the shadows writhed, hungry and voracious. In that moment, the forest erupted with anguished cries. Lisa's breath hitched, and she pulled Danny closer. Run, she screamed, turning to bolt in the opposite direction, but the shadows surged forward, too fast, too powerful. The darkness twisted beneath their feet, the ground opened like a mouth, threatening to swallow them whole. Mom, Danny shouted, feeling the grip of anguish close in. The beat of the forest echoed in tandem with her heartbeat, each pulse a desperate warning. It was relentless, unforgiving, a sinister rhythm that mirrored her fear. As they raced through the trees, Lisa's mind raced, searching for answers, clinging to the hope that there was a way to escape this nightmare. But deep down, the whispers beckoned as if promising safety and surrender. They wouldn't stand still for long. Then, out of the corner of her eye, a shivering glow emerged, like a beacon piercing the dark. Danny, over there. But she knew she could feel it. Whatever lay ahead held its own deadly secrets. Would they fall deeper into the darkness, or could the light lead them back to safety? Only the woods would decide. Their legs pumped hard against the forest floor as they dashed toward the flickering glow, anxiety brewing in Lisa's chest. Shadows snapped at their heels, growing bolder, and just as she felt they might be caught, the glow pulsed brighter ahead, a beacon of hope or a trap laced with deceit. Keep running, Danny, she shouted, her voice strained, but she could feel a pull toward the light, a whisper that promised safety. The ground shivered beneath them, knots of roots rising like serpents, stinging her ankles as they wove through the underbrush. Branches clawed at their clothes, reaching out like skeletal fingers. She gritted her teeth, pushing through the pain. She couldn't let Danny see her falter. The figures behind them moaned louder, their lost souls echoing through the trees, a symphony of despair that threatened to drown out her resolve. Finally, they burst into a clearing, the source of the glow emanating from a rock formation etched with strange symbols. It stood tall against the oppressive darkness, a strange luminescence shimmering around it. Mom, I don't like this, Danny whimpered, his small face pale under the eerie light. Neither do I, she admitted, scanning the area. Yet something within the rock pulsed, a promise that it would shield them. But we have to try. This might be our only chance. As they approached, the symbols on the rocks twisted before her eyes, almost alive, swirling and undulating like a living entity. This was not just a harmless pile of stones, it felt sentient, aware of their presence. Lisa touched one of the symbols, its surface cold, yet humming with energy. "Do you think it can help us?" Danny asked, his voice a mix of hope and fear. "I hope so," Lisa said, not fully believing her own words. "But let us be careful." Suddenly, the woods shuddered. The moaning intensified, reverberating like a storm gathering. The trees leaned closer, their branches contorting as if trying to reach them. The whispers grew more urgent, clawing at Lisa's resolve. "Join us. Share your pain. Be free at last." "No," Lisa cried out, shaking her head, forcing herself to focus on Danny. "We want to join them. They're lying." The glow from the stones intensified, illuminating the symbols, revealing the dark stories etched into the rock. Shadows of faces flickered in the light, mired in torment, their mouths moving in a frantic chant, repeating one word: "Help." "Mom, look!" Danny pointed, his eyes wide with terror. A figure thrusted forward from the dark, a wraith-like form weaving in and out of existence. Its body made of shadows, but its eyes, those were strikingly real, burning with pain. It reached toward them, and Lisa felt a chill creep up her spine. "Help me, save me," a silent plea echoed between the spaces of the figure's ghostly frame. "No, get back." Lisa pushed Danny behind her, panic surging. The figure faltered, its essence flickering, indecision evident in its haunting gaze. She could see it agonizing over the choice whether to draw them in or to leave them be. The whispers grew louder, drowning out her thoughts, curling around her mind. "You can join us. Never be alone, all will be well." Lisa's heart raced as she fought to separate truth from illusion. "Danny, take my hand." She grabbed his small, trembling one, locking eyes with him, trying to steady her voice. "We have to focus on the light." But the moments spiraled as shadows closed in around them, a horrific cauldron of whispers and shadows folding in, the very essence of the woods hungry for souls. "Mom!" Danny screamed, straining against her grip. The glow flickered, wavering in the face of the mounting terror. The cries of the figures seeped into her consciousness. What if the stones betrayed them? But what if this was their only way out? With one last surge of courage, Lisa pulled Danny closer, facing the light as she braced for whatever came next. "Help us or take us!" She screamed into the darkness, surrendering her fear and defiance to the woods. The shadows halted, almost stunned. Silence fell, dread-laden, before the wraith surged forward again, arms reaching out for Danny. And in the next instant, the ground shook violently, the symbols pulsing wildly with energy, drawing a line between hope and despair. A fissure split the earth beneath them, where darkness pooled like ink. The figures, now shouting, erupted into chaos as they lurched towards the light, an unnerving wave desperate to claim them. Lisa felt the ground slipping away, and before she could grasp what had happened, a blinding flash engulfed them. Was this the end or a new beginning? In the overwhelming brilliance, her last thought flickered a haunting question. What would they confront when the light faded? Lisa's eyes fluttered open, blinded by a glaring brightness that slowly dimmed to a soft, ethereal glow. The ground beneath her was no longer the rough forest floor. It felt smooth, almost surreal, pulsing gently in tune with her heartbeat. "Danny," she gasped, feeling an icy grip of panic. She sat up and scanned her surroundings. The clearing was gone, replaced by an otherworldly landscape. Mist curled around her ankles, and soft, ghostly lights floated in the air, casting unsettling shadows. "Mom!" Danny's voice echoed somewhere behind her, trembling and distant. Her heart ached as she rose to her feet, scanning the mist. "Danny!" A small figure stumbled into view, his face pale and eyes wide with confusion. She rushed to him, enveloping him in a fierce embrace. "I thought I lost you. What happened?" Danny choked out, his breath quickening. "Where are we?" "I don't know," Lisa admitted, dread creeping into her gut. She glanced around cautiously, the unsettling fog swirling like a living beast. The air was thick with a sickly sweet scent, a mix of decay and something floral, almost enticing. "We need to stick together." As they moved through the uncertain landscape, the lights flitted around them, flicking closer and then darting away as if teasing them. Shadows danced in the periphery, but she forced herself to look only toward the path ahead. "Mom, I don't like this," Danny whimpered again, his reluctance wrapped tightly around her heart. "Me neither, sweetheart," she murmured, squeezing his hand tighter. "But we have to keep moving. We can't let them whatever they are get to us." The eeriness of their surroundings grew with each step. The mist curled tighter around them, forming outlines of figures that seemed to watch in silence. Shadows elongated and shrank back, blurring the line between what was real and what was imagined. They continued, a sense of foreboding thickening the air, until they came upon a clearing filled with blooming flowers, bright and vivid against the dull landscape. "Look at those, Mom. They're beautiful," Danny exclaimed, stepping forward. "No, stay close," Lisa warned, sweeping him back. The flowers pulsed softly, rhythmic like a heartbeat. Despite their allure, a primal instinct screamed at her to avoid them. They could be dangerous. But Danny lingered, his curiosity almost tangible. "But why would they hurt us? They look so Danny," she yelled, the thought of losing him again suffocating her. "Please, don't." Suddenly, the ground beneath them rumbled again, a sensation that churned her stomach. The flowers wilted in an instant, vaporizing into mist that wafted toward the shadows. The sonorous whispers returned, louder, merging with the rustling of the fog. "Flee, escape, join us, what do they want?" Danny's voice quivered as he pressed closer against her. "I don't know," Lisa whispered, fighting against the fear that constricted her throat. The shapes in the mist began to coalesce, forming clearer figures that approached. Their faces twisted in agony, mouths moving silently, yet screaming with despair. "Help us, help us," they echoed, the sound splintering her mind into fragments of panic. Lisa noticed the symbols carved into the trees around the clearing, mirroring the ones they had seen before. Panic sank into her bones. "This is bad. This is really bad." Before she could react, one of the figures lunged forward, an apparition clawing at her sanity with its ghostly hand, eyes aflame with haunting sorrow. "You must help us. Set us free," it implored, its voice a chilling melody that resonated deep within her, tickling at the edges of her consciousness. "No," she screamed, stumbling back with Danny in tow. "We can't help you." The shadows surged, seeming to throb with life, drawing closer, their wails blending into a cacophony that battered her senses. The ground trembled beneath their feet, as fear stripped away her resolve. Lisa's heart raced with despair, the realization dawning heavy upon her. Whatever this place had in store for them, it was only a matter of time before the darkness overtook them completely. "Mom." The urgency in Danny's voice cut through the frantic sounds, bringing her back to the present. She looked down into his terrified eyes, the innocence within them so painfully uncomprehending. And as the shadows reached out, she made a split-second decision. "Hold on tight." She grabbed Danny's hand, and they bolted toward the edge of the clearing, the weight of the whispers and frantic faces tearing at her resolve. The figures shrieked, their cries a razor to her thoughts, promising pain if they ran. I can't, I can't," Danny screamed, stumbling as the fear wrapped tighter around them both. But there was no turning back now, only forward. "Just trust me," she cried. They plunged across the threshold of the clearing, the shadows clawing more fiercely, the whispers ratcheting into a crescendo of desperation as the light brightened behind them. But what lay in the darkness beyond? What would they finally confront if they escaped the whispers of despair? They sprinted into the abyss, leaving the howls behind, but knew it might only get worse from here. What could possibly be waiting just out of sight? The world around them shifted abruptly. The moment they crossed the edge of the clearing, the air felt different, thinner, almost electric. It was a stark contrast to the sickly sweetness that lingered behind them. Lisa clutched Danny's hand tighter as they plunged deeper into the fleeting haze, the spectral whispers merging into an ominous echo. "Mom, where are we going?" Danny's voice trembled. He looked back, the shadows still clawing at the edge of the clearing, desperate to pull them back. The faces twisted in horror haunted her thoughts. "Somewhere safer," she gasped, forcing her feet to move faster even as her resolve weakened. They stumbled into what seemed like a tunnel formed by twisted trees, their branches curled like skeletal fingers. Lisa's heart raced around them. The mist thickened, swirling in a churning vortex that felt alive. She sensed something watching them, lurking just beyond the veil. Goosebumps prickled her skin, and she could feel Danny's fear coursing through their clasped hands. Suddenly, the ground quivered beneath their feet, and a snaking root thrust itself from the earth, nearly tripping them. "Look out!" Lisa shouted, dragging Danny back just in time. "What the hell was this place?" "Mom, I can't breathe." Danny gasped, struggling against her grip. "Just a little further," she urged, eyes darting to the oppressive darkness around them. But with each step, the oppressive mist grew thicker, swathing them in a claustrophobic grip. An echo of laughter, a twisted, high-pitched sound resonated through the atmosphere. Lisa froze. "Did you hear that?" she whispered, dread pooling in her stomach. Danny nodded, trembling. "It's not funny, no, it's not," she whispered back, glancing over her shoulder at the flickers of ghostly lights, taunting and teasing from the veil of fog. They pressed forward, urgency gnawing at her bones. Then, beneath a heavy curtain of shadow, they stumbled upon a dilapidated structure, its rotting timber barely holding together. A house, or something vile masquerading as one. The sight sent a jolt of adrenaline through her. "This place looks scary," Danny murmured, stepping back. "It's probably better than staying out here," she said, half convincing herself. Little did she know how much darker their nightmare would soon become. They stepped closer. The door swung open with an eerie creak, beckoning them into the gloom. The air grew colder, wind rushing from within like a deathly sigh. Taking a deep breath, Lisa stepped inside, pulling Danny along. Inside, shadows draped over the furniture, overturned chairs, dusty tables, remnants of lives abandoned. The scent of rot filled the air, sharp and suffocating. "Stay close," she ordered, gripping his small shoulder as they ventured deeper. A sudden chill swept through, making her shiver. The faint sound of whispers drifted, slithering through the corners of the room. "Help us, join us, Mom. I'm scared," Danny cried, his wide eyes filled with terror. "I know. Just hold on to me," she replied, desperately reassuring herself as much as him. As they crept further into the building, a series of pictures caught Lisa's attention. Faces were blurred and twisted, anguished expressions frozen in time. One photo, however, made her heart stop. She recognized one of the women, her features strikingly familiar. "Mom?" Danny asked, voice shaky. That looks like Grandma," she whispered, stepping closer. The hairs on her neck stood up. Why was she in a place like this? "Maybe we should go," Danny urged, inching back. "Yes, we should," she nodded, her instincts screaming at her to escape. As they turned to leave, a latch clicked ominously behind them. The door slammed shut, sealing them in with the echoes of despair. "Mom, what is happening?" Danny screamed, panic filling the space like the shadows around them. "Stay calm," she shouted back, but her voice wavered. The walls seemed to close in, whispers intensifying as if the house itself was alive, gleeful in its trap. And then, she saw it, a figure materializing just beyond the haze, glistening eyes locked on them. The specter was no longer a shadow, but something more tangible, draped in dark rags, gesturing with a hollow grin. "Join us," Lisa's heart sank as she pulled Danny close, fear surging anew. They weren't just trapped in a house, they were ensnared in a web of despair spun by unseen hands. What would they discover about the ones who had vanished before them? Would they be the next to plead for help? The shadows seemed to pulse with an insatiable hunger, and within the suffocating darkness, the true horror was only just beginning to unfold. The air thickened as the figure stepped closer, shadows spilling from its body like ink and water. Its smile widened, revealing a row of jagged teeth gleaming in the dim light. "Join us," it repeated, its voice dripping with malice. Lisa's breath quickened, each inhale sharp with fear. "Danny, don't look," she hissed, her heart pounding in her chest as she attempted to shield her son from sight. But Danny was frozen, his wide eyes transfixed on the apparition. The creature's gaze pierced through her, and she felt as if it was reading her innermost thoughts. "Mom, I don't want to stay here," he squeaked, pulling away slightly. "Neither do I," she snapped, fighting against the thick fog of panic settling over her mind. The whispers grew louder, swirling around them, a cacophony of despair begging to be heard. "They're lost," One echoed, "You will join them." Lisa turned, searching for an exit, but every inch of the space felt claustrophobic, as if the walls were closing in, urging her to succumb to the darkness. She felt the sinister energy intensifying, the shadows seeping from the corners like a living thing. "Follow me," she yelled, taking Danny's hand and turning, but the room seemed to shift. Tables that once appeared in her peripheral vision vanished, replaced by walls pulsing with grotesque images, faces she recognized, twisted in agony, forever trapped. Each picture was a memory of someone once loved, now reduced to echoing horror. "Mom, it's too dark," Danny cried, panic edging into his voice. "I can't see." Dropping to her knees, Lisa pulled Danny close. "Look at me, Danny. Just look at me." She fought to keep her voice steady. The boy trembled as she took a moment to calm herself. The grip of fear gnawed at her insides, but she couldn't afford to break. "Mom, look." Danny pointed to a corner, his finger shaking. The specter loomed there, now hovering, flickering in and out of reality like a dying flame. The grin was gone, replaced by a grimace, its hollow eyes now blazing with an unnatural light. "Help us. Join us," it hissed, stretching its hand toward them, fingers elongated and skeletal. The room shook violently, knocking them both off their feet. Shadows spiraled upward, swirling as the house erupted in chaos. Lisa grabbed Danny and pulled him to her, shielding him as dust rained down. The whispers grew frantic, drowning out their thoughts. "Mom," Danny screamed. "I don't want to die." "Neither do I," Lisa cried back fiercely, desperately searching for some sign of safety. She pulled at the door, but it remained sealed, as if the very wood were alive, resisting her escape. Suddenly, a window shattered somewhere in the shadows, revealing a glimpse of the outside world, a stormy night, trees bending under the force of the wind. It beckoned them like a distant promise of freedom. "Hold my hand," Lisa shouted, and they sprinted toward the splintered remnants of the window frame. Just as they reached it, the entity lunged, its claws grazing the air behind them, making the hairs on her neck stand up. They dove through the broken glass, tumbling into the cold night, the heavy mist swirling around them like a shroud. Gasping, they pulled themselves up, adrenaline flooding their veins. Lisa glanced back at the house, its form distorted and grotesque, filled with anguished faces, all watching and whispering. It was like a nightmare that would not end. "Let us go," Lisa urged, pulling Danny along the narrow path that was barely visible in the dark fog that enveloped them. But the feeling of being watched returned, creeping up her spine. There was a rustle in the trees, a shadow moving just beyond their line of sight. The haunting echoes from inside the house followed them, an unsettling reminder that they weren't yet free. "How do we escape?" she muttered, dread settling in again. Danny tugged at her hand insistently. "Mom, we need to find somewhere safe. I don't want to go back in there." "Then we keep running," she declared, but each step they took whispered questions in her mind. Would they find safety? Or had they only traded one horror for another? Suddenly, a chilling laugh shattered the night air. It was all around them, seeping through the fog. "You can't escape us." Lisa looked at Danny, and horror gripped her heart. Could they truly outrun whatever was hunting them now? In the distance, something shifted. The trees parted just enough to reveal a smaller structure, looming and dark, as if inviting them deeper into an unending nightmare. "Mom, please don't go near it." But Lisa's heart raced for another reason. What secrets lay within that dank shadow? She clenched Danny's hand tighter, staring into the abyss, wondering if it was a sanctuary or simply another trap. "Just a few more steps," she whispered, stepping towards the structure, unknowingly drawing closer to the truth. What lay waiting inside? Would it reveal the answers she sought, or plunge them further into darkness? As they approached the dark structure, the atmosphere shifted. Lisa felt the weight of dread settling over her like a leaden blanket. Each heartbeat echoed in her ears, merging with the whispers that swirled in the air around them. She hesitated, searching for reassurance, but all she found was Danny's face, pale and trembling, terror etched into every feature. Maybe we should go back," he suggested, his voice hardly above a whisper. "No," Lisa urged firmly, though fear gnawed at her confidence. "We can't go back in there. We have to find out if this place can protect us." She didn't believe her own words. As they neared the door, a warped, splintered slab of wood barely hanging on its hinges. Lisa noticed a flickering light dancing through the cracks, casting shadows that beckoned them closer. She pushed gently against the door, and it creaked open, revealing a narrow hallway, shrouded in darkness, yet illuminated by an eerie, flickering glow from within. "Stay close," she warned Danny, gripping his hand tightly as they stepped inside. The door swung shut behind them with a soft thud, sealing them off from the turmoil outside. Inside, the air was stale, filled with the musty scent of decay. The floorboards creaked ominously beneath their weight, echoing through the empty space like ominous footsteps. Shadows writhed in the corners of her vision, teasing her sanity. They ventured forward, drawn by the unsettling light. "Mom," Danny started, but his voice broke as fear gripped him. She hushed him as they reached the end of the hallway. The light flickered just beyond a slightly open door. With every passing moment, the whispering grew louder, transforming into frantic, pleading voices that seemed to resonate from the very walls. "Join us," they called. But the voices were no longer seductive. They were desperate, frantic. Lisa pushed the door open, revealing a large, dimly lit room. In the center stood a table covered in strange symbols and thick, dark liquid that pooled in the hollows of the wood. Candles flickered sporadically, their light dancing angrily against the walls, illuminating the nightmarish carvings and etchings that seemed to writhe and twist. "Mom, I don't like this," Danny whined, edging closer to her side. In the far corner of the room, a large mirror stood, cracked and dusty. Something shifted in the glass of face. No, a shadow. She stepped closer, compelled to look. As she peered into the mirror, the reflection didn't show her or Danny. Instead, it revealed endless twisted forms, faces contorted in agony, reaching out as if they were screaming for help. "Mom, it's looking at us," Danny shrieked, pulling at her hand, his small fingers trembling. The figures in the mirror flickered, their ethereal grasp extending beyond the glass, as if they were trying to pull themselves free from their prison. A deep growl emanated from the mirror, resonating deep in her bones. "We must leave," she shouted, spinning around to find the door flying open, a gust of wind rushing in, swirling leaves and debris around them. It was a void, darker than the night itself, consuming everything in its path. "Danny, run!" They stumbled backward, forcing their way out of the room. The entity's laughter erupted from the shadows, a chilling promise that echoed louder now, filling the corridor with a suffocating panic. They had traded one nightmare for another, and the reality of their situation dawned on Lisa, a trap set for them, luring them deeper into this sickening darkness. They raced down the hallway, but the house groaned around them, shifting with every footfall, making it impossible to find an exit. Every turn led them back to that horrific room. "Mom, I can't breathe," Danny cried, tears streaming down his cheeks as Lisa felt the walls closing in, the shadows hungry for their souls. With no time to lose, she yanked open the nearest door, darting inside. The air was cooler, biting against their skin, and she quickly scanned the room. It was filled with broken furniture and stacks of rotting books, but it was clear a window stood open, inviting the breeze. "Out the window, Danny," she urged. They pushed through the mess, hearts racing, but the laughter behind them roared louder, echoing their steps. "Why are they laughing?" Danny sobbed. "Because they think we're trapped," Lisa choked out, urgency lacing her words. They rushed to the window, but even as they reached for it, something dark slithered across the floor, reaching for them. The shadows were alive. "Jump!" Lisa screamed, as panic clawed at her throat. They leaped through the window, crashing into the open air, tumbling into the chaos outside. But the darkness didn't let them go easily. As they landed, they felt an invisible weight pressing down, pulling them back, pulling them into the earth that didn't want them to escape. With every ounce of strength, Lisa shouted into the night, "We're not going back." But the shadows murmured, "You can't escape." As they scrambled to their feet, Lisa saw strange outlines forming beneath the trees, shapes emerging from the mist around them. Were they friend or foe? And would they lead Lisa and Danny out of this horror instead of pulling them back into it? Their answer would come quickly, for those figures moved toward them, and in an instant, the night grew darker still. What horrors awaited them from those shadowy forms? Would they find salvation or another trap? The shapes drew closer, their features indistinguishable in the thickening fog. Lisa squinted, heart pounding, trying to decipher their intentions. Danny was near her side, trembling like a leaf caught in a storm. "Mom, they're coming. What do we do?" Danny's voice quivered painfully. Lisa gripped his hand tighter, her breath quickening. "We have to move. Stay with me." The figures emerged from the mist, and she caught her breath. They weren't just shadows. These were real people, pale and gaunt, eyes hollow, faces grim. They looked as if they had been pulled from the bowels of the earth itself. The dirt and grime clung to them like a second skin. "Help us," one rasped, a feeble whisper choking with despair. Lisa felt a chill race down her spine as she instinctively stepped back. Were they victims, or were they something far more sinister? "Don't look at them. Keep moving," she urged, pushing Danny along. But a part of her was entranced, the pitiful longing in their voices pulling at her heart. The mournful chant escalated, voices melding into an eerie harmony, drawing Lisa into the depths of the woods where unspeakable dread lurked beneath the surface. How many like them had been caught in this darkness? "Mom!" Danny's shout broke her reverie. He pointed ahead. There a looming figure stark against the night, taller and darker than the rest, standing alone with hands raised as if ready to receive them. It's the source," Lisa whispered, realization striking her like a bolt of lightning. Whatever it was, it felt connected to that house, to the mirror, to the horrors that awaited within those walls. "Run back," Danny begged, panic filling his eyes. "No, we can't go back there. We have to keep moving. There might be a way out," she argued, torn between the strange figure and the creeping darkness encircling them. But without warning, the ground trembled beneath their feet. The figures around them stopped, their hollow eyes locking onto the boys. "Join us," they whispered, the plea echoed by the dark figures stepping forward. With a frantic burst of energy, Lisa pulled Danny toward the trees, hoping to slip past the throng of lurking faces. As they dashed through the underbrush, the echo of footsteps followed, a cacophony of despair weaving into their flight. As they sprinted, the trees seemed to thicken, twisting into a labyrinth of gnarled branches and whispering leaves. Every direction felt wrong. Every turn brought more shadows. She could hear Danny panting behind her, feet tripping over roots and debris. "Mom, I can't see," he called out, his voice cracking with fear. "We're almost there. Just a little further," Lisa replied, forcefully pushing aside branches that snagged at them like grasping hands. But as they stumbled into a clearing, Lisa froze. Before them lay an ancient altar, glistening in the moonlight, surrounded by fresh offerings, bones, twisted roots, objects that glimmered as if they held trapped souls. "No," she whispered, horror crashing down around her. This was a place of sacrifice. The wind howled, an anguished scream that seemed to come from the very ground itself. "They want you." The whispers surged again, echoing frantically. The dark figure was upon them now, arms outstretched, eyes glinting with a terrifying intensity that seared into her mind. "You have come to be liberated, Danny. Run. Get to the trees." But even as she said it, Lisa felt an otherworldly pull drawing her towards the altar, calling her to join the endless cycle of torment. "Mom!" Danny cried, tears streaming down his face. She turned, her heart tearing. He was right there, despair etched across his little face. But the shadows were closing in, narrowing the gap between them. With every ounce of will, Lisa charged towards Danny, dragging him back just as the darkness attempted to ensnare them. The ground shook violently beneath them. Suddenly, the air crackled, an energy building, and the shadowy figures surged forward, screaming for release. The dark laughter surrounded them, and in an instant, the clearing felt alive with danger and heart-stopping fear. "Mom, they're grabbing me," Danny yelled, as clawing hands reached for him. "Don't let go," she shouted, grasping his arm. As she braced for the inevitable struggle, time felt suspended. The looming dark figure loomed larger, the air heavy, a storm brewing both inside and out. But then, from behind, a deafening roar emerged, a light flashing through the darkness. The shadows shrieked as if they were being attacked. What would that light reveal? Could it be their salvation, or another fickle twist of the nightmare? With dread in her heart, Lisa knew they had to face whatever came next together. The sky above them erupted in a blinding light, illuminating the clearing and scattering the shadows like dust in the wind. Lisa flinched against the brightness, dragging Danny behind her as they fell to their knees. She squinted, desperate to see beyond the glare. But the shadows screamed, retreating into the woods, their anguished wails mingling with the cacophony of cries that filled the air. Danny clutched her tightly, his small frame trembling against the intensity of the light. "What is happening, Mom?" he whispered, fear still threading through his voice. "I don't know, sweetheart, but we need to stay close." They remained knelt on the earth, waiting for whatever revelation lay ahead in answer, a way out, a purpose for this impossibly dark chase. Gradually, the glow dimmed, revealing a figure in the center of the clearing, a woman, appearing like a wraith emerging from the background. Her presence filled the space with an unexpected warmth, as if she were the source of the light, the very embodiment of safety. "Do not be afraid," she spoke, her voice soothing yet powerful. "I am the guardian of these woods." Lisa's breath caught. "Guardian? What do you mean?" "This place feeds off fear, despair, and pain," the woman explained, her eyes shimmering with ancient wisdom. "But it has a heart too, a heart that can be freed. We're trapped here. We don't belong," Danny muttered, confusion still lingering in his innocent eyes. "No," the woman whispered. "You were brought here to confront the sorrow that binds the lost souls. But you, Lisa, hold the key to their release." Lisa's heartbeat thundered in her ears. "Me?" It felt impossible, overwhelming. "How can I?" "By acknowledging their pain, not hiding from it." She gestured to the dark forest, still trembling at the edges, threatening to spill back into chaos. "You must stand before the altar and offer your truth. Only then will this nightmare cease." The spectre's words settled deep within, igniting a flame of understanding. Those lost souls, they were echoes of her town, of those she had known. Pain and suffering, trapped. "I can't let this continue," Lisa mumbled, the determination surging within her. "Mom, we can't," Danny cried, fear heavy in his voice as he faltered, but Lisa knelt down to his level, wiping away his tears. "Listen, Danny, if facing this can save them and keep you safe, I have to do this. We have to do this together." With a deep breath, Lisa rose, pulling Danny to stand beside her. Fear twisted in her gut, but a fierce love ignited her spirit. They crossed the threshold toward the altar, each step resonating with the weight of 1,000 souls. Lisa felt the darkness pressing against her, whispering doubts and despair, but she pressed on. When they arrived, the altar pulsed with energy, the symbols swirling around like a galaxy of unresolved pain stories yearning for release. Lisa tightened her grip on Danny's hand, allowing warmth to flow between them. "This is it," she said, her heart racing. "We can do this." Stepping close to the center, she faced the gentle glow emanating from the altar. "I know you're here, all of you." Her voice trembled, yet remained strong. "I can feel your pain. I see you." I want to turn away. Warmth enveloped them, a breath of solidarity that surged through her veins. In that moment, she could feel the whispers lessening, the shadows pulling away, hesitating. "Join me," she called, her voice building. "Let us break this cycle. Together." In her mind, she envisioned the lost souls, their faces, her neighbors, friends. She folded her heart wide open, letting all her love for them radiate into the dark void surrounding them. Shimmering light enveloped them, cascading as if it were embracing every twisted memory, their fears stripped away, their sorrows released. The anguished figures began materializing, flickering like flames ignited anew within the radiant glow. "Thank you," they whispered in unison, voices now gentle, bright. "Thank you for seeing us." One by one, they stepped forward, joining Lisa and Danny, their hollow eyes now softening, recognition lighting their faces. The weight of despair lifted as they merged into the radiant light, ethereal whispers of hope streaming around, like fireflies breaking through a dark night. As the last of the darkness dissipated like smoke in the wind, Lisa exhaled, feeling the heavy chains that had once bound her lift. The woods trembled softly, the trees, the soil, everything began to revive, to breathe again. "We're free," Danny murmured, all painted across his features. "You did it, Mom." His voice trembled, rich with newfound joy. They stood, staring into the now vibrant woods, now a sanctuary instead of a prison. The whispers had transformed, no longer cries of anguish, but songs of gratitude echoing among the leaves. The shadows, once former captives, were now drifting souls, swirling like bright stars escaping their earthly tether. "Let us go home," Lisa whispered, her heart swelling with both relief and warmth. Leading Danny through the woods that once threatened darkness, but now promised healing as they emerged from the trees and stepped back into Maple Grove. They glanced back, hearts both heavy and light. The Whispering Woods had become a legend, not of horror, but of liberation, a reminder that love and courage can break even the darkest of chains. And as they turned to walk away, a whisper of hope danced through the leaves. "Thank you for seeing us." Remember, if you enjoyed this story and want to keep up with more thrilling tales, you need to subscribe now. Smash that like button to feed the algorithm. Your reactions are vital, so flood the comments with your thoughts and theories. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this mind-blowing conclusion. Your support helps make the story come alive for everyone.